Good evening, Zimbabwe. Good evening once again. Good evening, Africa. Good evening, everyone. I just come for a short video. I think it's around 18 minutes to 10 in the evening. I come just to fix some few urgent jobs which I have. So what we have this motherboard. This came from another computer shop at our local business center, and they said they tried to fix it, but they didn't find out what the problem is. So we have this motherboard which came from another computer shop. So let's open and see if we can able to fix this one. Yeah, that's our motherboard, and it's written on the receipt. It's a motherboard for Dell Inspiron 15 series, and they said the laptop was not coming on. They opened the laptop and they discovered that some pins on the charging port were not even connected, all of them, and they tried to connect back the pins. They plug in the charger, nothing happened. So that's what we want to find out, what's the problem. Before I can go further, we just want to see how much we can diagnose and what we can see from this motherboard. So here we do have the charging port, which is coming here, and here is written DC in. I suppose this here we do have our 19 volts coming from our charger to the input, and from here we can see a big power rail. Here we have some resistors, and after the resistors we have our first MOSFET, which is acting as a switch. From this MOSFET is going to our second MOSFET. From here we do have our current sensor, and this current sensor is a low ohms resistor, around the 0 point something ohms. So our 19 volts is coming from the DC in, first MOSFET, second MOSFET. From there, current sensor. After the current sensor, it goes everywhere. So, and we do have so many components. On the other side, we have that's the battery connector. Here we do have LCD connector. That's the power switch connector. Here we have that's the Wi-Fi connector. We have the RAM, is DDR4, so it seems to be a new model of motherboard. Here we have our microcontroller startup chip, and here we have a BIOS chip. We have more coils which represent some different power supplies. On the other side, we do have our BIOS batteries to ensure all the BIOS settings from our main controller they are kept alive. So yeah, that's what we can see from this motherboard. So what I would do I'll explain few things before we can fix this motherboard. Let me put it under microscope and see what's going on here. I've put my motherboard under microscope, and you can see here we do have two pins together, which is the plus of our 19 volts is coming from the charging port to these two pins together. Here we have some data pins which are going, I believe, straight to the microcontroller, and on the other side we have two pins which I understand they are ground. So we shall follow and see where our 19 volts power rail is going. From the plus, we can easily see here it's written DC in. So here we do have 19 volts, and if we try to follow where our plus is going, it's going through some resistors. You can see our capacitor, they are connected to 19 volts, and here we do have our first MOSFET. And if we look at the MOSFET, we have three pins together. That is our drain, and we have one pin which is the gate, and four pins together. That is our source. So our 19 volts is coming here to these three pins. From that, it passed through this first MOSFET to the other side of the MOSFET, which is acting as a switch. In case of any emergency on the motherboard, this MOSFET will cut down the power. So from here, we can move and try to look for another MOSFET. Another MOSFET, which is here. Here we do have our second MOSFET, four pins together, three pins together, and our gate here. From here we do have our 10 ohms current sensor. From this point, our 19 volts is going everywhere. We do have so many voltages: 3.3 for the startup chip, 1.5 volts for the RAM, and 1 volt for the processor. And if we look at our board here, this is all-in-one. We have under this heatsink we have processor, and inside the processor we have graphic chip. We have our chipset. It's all-in-one. So what I will do, I will take out my charger. Let me plug in my charger. Let me plug in my charger and see what's going on here. My charger is plugged. What our first step to do, my first step, I'm going to put my multimeter on the DC mode and check if our charger is working. The outer part of our charger, that is the ground, and the inner part is the plus. So always place the black probe on the outside and our inner on the inside, and you can check on our multimeter 19.55. So our charger is working well. So my next step, I'll plug in the DC charger. Hey, and we do have some smoke. Something just smoke from this motherboard. So we do have a big problem here. So Let me use my DC power supply and see if we have any short. Around 19 volts, around 2.7 amps. Ground from the USB port, and I'll jump the two MOSFET and inject 19 volts on my current sensor to see what's going on here. And we do not have any short. Okay. First thing, let us go on the continuity mode. That's our continuity mode. 00. Let's check something on our charging port. That's ground. Plus, we can see we do have a short on our charging port. Our ground pins are beeping to ground, and also red wires, they are beeping to ground. So something is wrong here. Let me check out the charging port and check again. And we do have a short on our charging port. So if we check on the other side, we have a blown up chip, which I'm not sure what is it. It looks like it's a diode or something else. So let us see under the mic what's going on here. Just try to find our component. Where is our component? Yeah. We can clearly see here we have a big problem. Soon as I plug my 19 volts into the connector, this chip blown up. When I look closely on the chip, this is a diode connected on the input to protect the motherboard in case of any short. So what I will do, we'll take down that diode and check again on the DC connector to see if we have any other short. Our diode is out. What I will do, I'll check again on the DC connect, on the charging port connector to see, and you can check on my test meter. There's no more short, so I won't even replace that diode. So what I will do, I will check what these other technicians try to do on this charging port. If you look on the charging port, we do have 3 pins. Let me put my microscope on focus. Yes, here we are. If we check here, we have 3 pins. Actually 3 wires. We have this red wire and the white wire, which is to identify the charger, and we do have another black wire which is connected to ground. So if I can see properly, the red wire is connected vice versa with the plus wire. That's why we have inverse voltage when I plugged in this charging port on the connector. This red wire was not supposed to be connected here. It was supposed to be connected on the black and the black on the red. So we'll rectify the error and reconnect the charging port and test again to see if our problem has been solved. So what I will do, let's try to fix that port quickly and see if that can solve our problem. So connector, yeah, the red wire is out. Let's go to black wire. Black wire is out. Let's put the red wire where there was black wire. Our red wire is now in position. Let's check the ground and connect it. It's connected. Let's check under the mic what we have done. All wires seems to be intact. So let's plug our charging port again. Let's plug our charger. Check. I just seen some light here. The problem, the customer didn't give us anything, but what I will do before we can power on, let's switch my test meter to DC power supply, ground, and check some voltages. On the input we do have 19 volts. After the first MOSFET, 19 volts. After the second MOSFET on the current center, 19 volts. And if we check for some ceramic capacitors on the main power rail, we can see here seems to be a power supply. Let's check those capacitors and see if we check 19.55. So we can conclude our 19 volts power rail is okay. What I will do next, we'll look here. We do have a BIOS chip. Let's check on the VCC pin number 8 of the BIOS chip and see if we do have 3.3 volts. That's our BIOS chip. And check on the test meter, 3.35. So the conditions for a laptop to start is there. We have 19 volts, we do have 3.3. So what I want to check further I want to check on the switch button connector to see if we do have 3.3 volts, because at any given time there must be voltage which is coming straight from the startup chip. So we'll check on each and every pin of the switch to see if we do have 3.3 volts. Check here. Check on the test meter 3.3. So we do have voltage on the switch connector. So we can safely say our board is ready to be powered on. Let's try to power it on with a tweezer and see if it's working. I'll try to connect pin by pin to ground and see which one is our switch on pin. First pin, nothing. Second pin, nothing. Third pin, nothing. If I try to turn on using this, it's not coming on. So let us try to look for, I think I once have some switch buttons of this model. So okay, maybe it's this one. So let's unplug this. Let's check out the BIOS battery. Let me plug in the switch. What I want to do more, I want to take out this HDMI cable. Let's plug our HDMI cable here. Let's come up with our charger and see what's going on here. Look at the fan. Let us wait and see if we can see anything on this engine. Off, on again. On again. On. Nothing on the screen. Let's plug in again. Let's try something else. Let's swap the RAM or HDMI in. Let's plug our charger. You can see here a light and our fan is spinning. Let us check if we have anything on the screen. Here we can see light, which means our board is already on, but our HDMI is not outputting. Maybe it's because we reset the BIOS. Let's wait a bit. On. I can feel the heat. The processor is warm, meaning to say our motherboard is turning on. But for some reasons, it's not outputting to the HDMI. Wait, input HDMI to PC. Let's put it on PC and see what's going on. Nothing. Just have a flicking light. Let's try on HDMI 2. Power on. We have our light, LED light. HDMI 1. Plug out, plug in again. Fan is spinning. Now our fan is spinning, still spinning, but we don't have anything on the screen. Okay, that's good. Let's try to put our RAM on the other slot. Let's plug back the BIOS battery. Let's plug in the charger. We have the LED light, meaning to say our board is on. Let's try to power it on. On. Our fan is spinning. And we can't see anything on the screen. So the important issue here is at least you see how we can diagnose a motherboard starting from the charging port, going to the power supplies from our main power rail, which is the input section 19 volts, going to other voltages 3.3, 19, and for now we shall call out the customer and request to bring back to bring the LCD for testing. but the issue is our engine is now working for the simple reason this was the fault of playing with the cables from the charging port. They do it vice versa. You know, this is a small town, and people that are trying to fix things on their own, and when it comes to complicated issues, they will come to us. So we are supporting self-repairs, and there's nothing wrong with trying to fix the problem, but at least you can see how you can diagnose the problem starting from the charging port going to the other power supplies. So what I will do, I will stop this repair now, and I will do a small part in the morning tomorrow when the customer bring the screen for testing on the display issue. But the issue is our motherboard is now coming on. So like and subscribe for more videos, and see you on the next one. Thank you.